Right now in Malaysia, there's this huge question facing millions of families. Should we lower the school entry age from 7 down to 6? It's a debate that's happening all over the world, but it feels especially important in Malaysia at this very moment.
On the surface, it seems like a simple question, right? Should a kid start school at age 6? But the answer, well, that's incredibly complex. Is starting earlier always a good thing, or could there be a hidden cost to jumping into formal education so young? Okay, so first, let's jump into the arguments for making that change. The people who support this see it as more than just a minor tweak. They see it as a really crucial step forward for the whole education system. So, the whole idea of starting at 6 really boils down to three key things. First, the belief that it gets kids better prepared for the demands of primary school. Second, it lines Malaysia up with what a lot of other countries are already doing. And third, there's this hope that giving kids an earlier start will pay off big time down the road, leading to better results in the long run. But of course, it's not that simple, is it? On the flip side of this debate, there are some pretty big concerns. And these worries aren't about the system, they're about the kids themselves.
What it really comes down to is this. Are we pushing children into this super structured environment before they're actually ready for it? Critics worry that a lot of 6-year-olds just don't have the mental focus, the emotional skills, or even the physical energy to handle a full school day.
And this slide really gets to the heart of the whole debate. You see the two different ways of looking at it. One side is focused on this system, making it more efficient and setting up long-term success. The other side is focused entirely on the child, making sure they're developmentally ready and protecting them from being pushed too hard too soon.
So you've got these two really strong but completely opposite arguments. It's only natural to ask, which way should Malaysia go? Who's got it right?
But what if we're all looking at this the wrong way? What if this whole yes or no debate is actually missing the most important part of the puzzle?
To really get why, we need to dig a little deeper. Because all the research shows that getting a child ready for school is about so much more than just knowing their ABCs and 1, 2, 3s.
And that brings us to this really important idea called developmental readiness. It's a holistic concept. It's not just about what a child knows, it's about whether they have the all-around maturity, socially, emotionally, physically, to actually cope and do well in a school setting.
You can kind of think of it in three big buckets. First, there's social readiness. Can they get along with other kids? Then emotional readiness. Can they handle their feelings in a new, busy place? And finally, physical readiness. Are they healthy enough and fed well enough to even have the energy to learn in the first place?
And this is where it gets really interesting. The research shows a direct link between a child's physical health and their brain. Things like poor nutrition aren't some separate issue. They can actually cause developmental delays that hurt a child's ability to learn and make friends.
This isn't a problem that's only happening in Malaysia. It's a global conversation. So let's zoom out for a second and see what we can learn from how other countries have tackled this exact same question.
And when you look at what other countries are doing, you start to see that the starting age is just one small piece of a much bigger puzzle. For example, a German study found that the starting age had a real impact on how kids felt about school, their motivation. And a study in Zimbabwe discovered something huge. How involved parents are can actually predict success better than the age a kid starts school. So here's the big takeaway from all that international research. The environment a child grows up in, their home life, their support system, that can be way more powerful for their education than the exact age they first step into a classroom. All right, so after looking at all the arguments, the science, the examples from around the world, what's the answer for Malaysia? Where does that leave us? Well, it seems like trying to find one single magic number for the starting age is just not the right way to think about it. The right age isn't a number, it's a balance, a delicate mix of a child's own development, their health, the support they get from their family, and crucially, whether the school system itself is actually ready to meet them where they are.
And that leaves us with one last, really big thought to chew on. Maybe we've been asking the wrong question this whole time. Instead of asking if our 6-year-olds are ready for school, maybe the real question we need to ask is our school system truly ready for them?